Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. Yes! Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boy, does it smell good.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
That's good.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer Show coming to you from Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. It means we're brought to you by Rouse's, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints, who will play tonight on Thursday Night Football. It is Sean Payton's return. We'll talk about that with Luke Johnson in 15 minutes. I'll also give my preview a little bit later. Certainly going to have Andrew Hutchison come along here at 1:30, covers Arkansas for the best of Arkansas sports at 1:30. And in the second hour, Chris Blair talking Tigers as well. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazali back there on the ones and twos. And fired up, you are with us. We are working towards the weekend here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Time now to start, as we do every single day, with our opening drive presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge. And to do so, I want to talk some LSU football with you. LSU and Arkansas Saturday night in Northwest Arkansas. Both teams coming off big-time wins. LSU knocking off Ole Miss, and, of course, Arkansas getting that win 2 weeks ago over the Tennessee Volunteers, which really kind of sparked their program. We'll talk about that with Andrew coming up in 30 minutes. But I have a thought on this game that I think makes a ton of sense, and it would be a complete 180 from what we've seen from LSU all season long. But I think there's reason to believe that it happens, and it's regarding the LSU offense. What do we know about the LSU offense? Well, we know a few things. We know that LSU's offensive line has been exceptional in pass protection. They have only allowed 2 sacks this whole season. Did not allow one to Ole Miss, who came in leading the nation in sacks. We know that Garrett Nussmeier is thrown for a high percentage of completion outside of Saturday. He's thrown for a lot of completions. He throws it a lot. We know that LSU doesn't run it exceptionally well, and they haven't run it a lot. We know Kyron Lacey's very, very good. Mason Taylor's very, very good. And there's another cast of receivers around there with Anderson and Thomas, potentially Daniels, and then we'll see what Trey Green can give this week. But it's a pass-heavy offense that has been productive. And what do we know that Brian Kelly has told us about the way that teams defend LSU? Well, he's telling people that, well, teams are just loading the box to take away the run. They do that, so we decide we're going to throw it. We're not going to be stubborn and just hammer away into 8- and 9-man boxes just because. Like, that's what he has said routinely. And so LSU has been pass happy. Here's my thought on this, and it crystallized on Saturday when LSU beat Ole Miss. If you're Arkansas, or you are Florida, or you are Vanderbilt, and you are less talented than Ole Miss is on defense. And make no mistake, Ole Miss has talent on defense. How many games are they going to win this year? I don't know. How many SEC championships is Lane Kiffin going to win at Ole Miss? 0. But they have talent on defense. Princely Umanmielen led Florida in sacks last year. You're talking about a guy in Centarian Perkins who was a 4-star recruit, is hyper athletic and has caused a lot of havoc in opposing backfields. Jared Ivey is an athletic dude who's going to be a high NFL draft pick. Pegues and Nolan have been really, really good for them on the inside. Like, say what you will about Ole Miss's team this year. They may be really good. They may be mediocre. Their talent level up front is excellent. And LSU dropped back to throw 56 times on Saturday. And Ole Miss never got home. 56 times, never got home. So if I am Arkansas or Vanderbilt or Florida, who has less talent, why am I going to send 5, 6, 7 guys routinely at Garrett Nussmeier around the line of scrimmage if I think LSU's offensive line is just going to catch them? And that's what LSU's offensive line's been doing. Will Campbell, Saturday night, 56 dropbacks, no pressures. You look at the Pro Football Focus grades. You look at the statistics. You watch the game. You watch the tape. LSU does not give up a lot of pressure on Garrett Nussmeier. So why, if I'm Arkansas, am I going to try to unleash the dogs when I don't have anybody on the roster that has more than 2.5 sacks all year. Like, Landon Jackson's a good player. He has 2.5 sacks this year. Now, he's created more pressure than that, to be clear. He's also been credited with 3 hurries, and he's disruptive. He plays with a very high motor. LSU fans know him. He was here in Baton Rouge for a couple of years. He was Garrett Dellinger's roommate. Like, he's a good player. He's going to play in the NFL. But he's not rolling up sacks at a ridiculous clip. And it's not like Auburn and Texas A&M have these elite offensive lines you just can't penetrate. It doesn't stand to reason that Arkansas is going to get home a lot with 5 and 6 guys coming. But what do we also know about LSU's offense over the last 3 games? Garrett Nussmeier has put the ball in harm's way. Even going back further than that, South Carolina throws the interception that gets wiped off with a horse collar, but it was a bad decision. And then he throws the awful red zone interception that got run back all the way, if not for the unnecessary roughness call. But questionable decisions by Garrett there. South Alabama, he threw 2 interceptions. Now, LSU was way up in that game, and we all kind of swept him under the rug, and we're like, well, and no big deal. And they were up, and he'll learn from that. He hadn't been turning it over all year. And then you come back against Ole Miss, a tipped ball interception, and then a heinous interception after Zy Alexander's pick in the end zone that once again gave Ole Miss an opportunity to go up 2 scores, an opportunity they did not seize. But Garrett Nussmeier's put the ball in harm's way for the last month. 2 picks against Ole Miss. 2 picks against South Alabama. Almost 2 picks against South Carolina, 1 in the red zone. So here's my thing. If I'm a defensive coordinator, why am I going to beat my head against the wall and run 6 guys up into this offensive line that's just playing patty cake when I could theoretically drop guys and see if Garrett Nussmeier has the patience not to force the ball? Now, you can suggest, well, those throws came with some pressure. And few of them did. Certainly the South Carolina horse collar, he was obviously under pressure. There wasn't a ton of pressure on him when he threw the interception down the sideline against Ole Miss. He was just a bad decision. He made a bad decision. And I think I've got a better chance of forcing Garrett Nussmeier into a bad decision by confusing him and dropping 7 or 8 guys and creating those tight windows that he's going to trust that big arm to throw it into. That's a better opportunity to stop him than trying to blitz this offensive line and let Will Campbell and Emory Jones just stonewall guys down after down and leave a compromised secondary. And Arkansas is not immensely talented in the secondary. You want Kyron Lacey running out there one-on-one? Ask the Ole Miss corner how that worked in the last play of the game. You want to deal with Aaron Anderson one-on-one and that quickness? Nussmeier will find him. You want to deal with Mason Taylor one-on-one? Why not drop and play numbers? And I think that's what Arkansas is going to do. I think they're going to try to bait Garrett Nussmeier into throwing into tight windows. And what does that mean? It means that there's a lighter box. And I think this will be the first game that LSU does establish the running game. I think that's going to be a goal for LSU in this game. It hasn't really been, because Brian Kelly's told us in these press conferences, they come out with light boxes or heavy boxes to stop the run. We're not going to just run into it. We'll throw it. We'll throw it out there wide. Get it out there. We'll pick up 6 yards. Do you really want to die like that? Like, LSU has shown they're going to be productive if you just let them throw it 45, 50 times. They haven't shown they can run it. Why don't you prove that offensive line can knock your 4 linemen and a couple linebackers that can come up and play the run? Prove LSU can block that. Leave your secondary stacked. That's what I would do. No one's done it yet, and they know a lot more about football than I do. I promise you that Pete Golding and whoever's calling the defense for South Alabama and all these guys, I promise they know more about defense than I do. But I'm just going off of what I've seen, and I've watched every snap LSU's played this year. That's not true. I was in the elevator for a little bit of the fourth quarter against South Alabama. Apologies. Had to find the studio. It's new. But I've seen most of the plays that LSU has run this year. And I just feel like I'm going to try to make them run the ball to win the game. And if they do, you can back up. If they start gashing you for 4 and 5 yards, you can back up. But LSU hasn't proven they can do that. The only time LSU got a running game going this year was when Caden Durham was bouncing off South Carolina guys all afternoon in Columbia. This group of offensive linemen, Will Campbell, Garrett Dellinger, Miles Frazier, and Emory Jones, take Charles Turner out, put DJ Tester in. That group did establish some running back run game in some games last year. They ran it some on Auburn. They ran it some on Florida. They ran it a little bit, on the Armies of the world. They ran it on Missouri and Ole Miss with Logan Diggs. They didn't run it on Bama. They didn't run it on Florida State. They didn't run it on A&M. But they did get some running game going. I think they can run block, but the numbers probably have to present themselves. And I think there's a good chance for the first time all year that does happen, because Arkansas is not going to try to win against these tackles in pass rush with this personnel. I just don't think that's going to work. I think your best chance is to try to get Garrett Nussmeier to get overly aggressive and try to shoot some of these gaps in an 8-man drop and try to get some interceptions that way. I think this game looks different than any game LSU has played thus far. I think the blueprint against Ole Miss was made. South Carolina is the only group to get pressure on LSU, and those two dudes, Kennard and Stewart, on the edge, are going to be first-round draft picks. Stewart's 2 years away from that. Kennard's a few months away from that. They are going to go in the first round. And if you got that, okay, well, we'll talk about it. Arkansas does not have that. Why try? Rush the passer when you get an opportunity, but on neutral downs, back up a little bit. That's what I think they're going to do. And I think LSU is going to have to adjust offensively to what they see when that happens. And that's up to Joe Sloan to lean on the running game a little bit more, which he has not done as a coordinator. And that's up to Garrett Nussmeier to make sure he's not forcing the ball. I mean, Nussmeier said after the game, it's the worst game I've played. And it's fine to say that and recognize that, but you better fix it. And that's what I think you're going to see from LSU coming up on Saturday night. That's our opening drive of the show, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge. When we come back, Luke Johnson from New Orleans, Sean Payton's return to the Dome, Drew Brees going to the Hall of Fame, and oh, by the way, there's a football game the Saints really need to win, and they don't have a lot of players to do it. We'll talk about all of it coming up next. One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. David Vaughn and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Give them a call. If you locked in a great interest rate and you don't want to move, but you feel like you could use a little bit of an upgrade in your living situation, whether that's in the closet, whether that's in the bathroom, they can handle it. And it doesn't have to be some 6-month massive renovation worth 6 figures. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be something simple like a tub-to-shower conversion. If you don't ever use that tub, you don't have a soon-to-be 3-year-old who's sloshing around with dinosaurs every night in the bathtub like we do at the Palmer house, and that tub's just a little old, kind of dingy, and you don't ever sit in it, well, get rid of it. Take it out, put in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower. It changes the aesthetic of your bathroom, changes the functionality of your bathroom, adds a little value to your home, and just makes everything look a little bit nicer. David Vaughn and his team are happy to do that. They do it all the time. In fact, that's the thing they do the most, is those tub-to-shower conversions. If you're looking for somebody to handle that for you, it's an easy stop. onebathandclosets.com. There are pictures of their great work on the website. There are testimonials from their satisfied customers, and you can get that free consultation. That doesn't cost you anything to go get the consultation. Have David come out and say, here's what we think. Here's what we can do. You can start that process. Financing is available. 18 months interest-free if you qualify. It's One Bath and Closets. Check them out online, onebathandclosets.com.
The only thing scary about the deals at Bayou Ford is if you miss out on them, like $15,000 off F-150. Bayou Ford has $15,000 off Ford F-150. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Brack, your #1 park system in the nation.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Hope your Thursday is going well. It's a gorgeous one here in the capital city. Started off a little chilly this morning. We were up exceptionally early in the Palmer house. Had to get the kiddo to a small procedure there for tubes for the third time. He's doing good, but at 5 a.m. this morning, it was kind of cold. It was kind of cold outside.
It was a little chilly for sure.
It's gorgeous now. It should be an awesome weekend here in South Louisiana. The football weekend starts off tonight inside the Dome. It's Thursday night football. It is Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos against some of the New Orleans Saints. Luke Johnson will be there. He covers the Saints for the Advocate. Luke, how we doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing a whole lot better than the Saints are doing right now.
I don't even know how to have a serious conversation about this, Luke. Like, I'm going to talk later in the show about how 2 weeks ago I said I don't really care. I don't want to hear about injuries because everybody's got injuries and it's just a tired excuse. And I'm just going to put my foot in my mouth and be like, I can't honestly expect the Saints to go out there with this group of humans and compete at a high level in the NFL. Am I just out of bounds?
Not entirely. I mean, I think there's a chance that that's a decently close game, just because I think the Saints defense got embarrassed last week, and I think Denver doesn't have a very good offense. They have a chance to keep them to like a low scoring game, but I don't think it's going to be fun. I'll tell you that right now. And I have a hard time seeing like a path for the Saints offense to put up enough points against what is really one of the best defenses in the NFL. I mean, they're like top 10 in every metric, no matter which way you cut it, whether it's like the traditional stuff or they're like top 4 in both scoring and total defense, or it's the like the advanced metrics like EPA per play. They're top 5 in passing, rushing, total. It's they're really, really good. And this is a bad time for them to come into town for the Saints.
I mean, what is the pep talk for Spencer Rattler here other than toss it to 41? I mean, what's the goal here for Spencer Rattler?
Don't turn it over. Don't turn it over. Yeah, I mean, just like over and over again, just like hey, be careful with the football. Like, don't make these huge mistakes. Like, see what happens if you're just trying to play a very efficient game. But like, I don't think they can just throw him out there and be like, hey, take over the game with Bub Means and Mason Tipton and Cedric Wilson as your receivers. And I'm certain that Denver is going to be doing everything in its power to keep Alvin Kamara under check, which is probably not going to be that hard considering they're still probably going to be missing their whole interior of their offensive line. I mean, it's just like it's like a terrible situation to drop Spencer Rattler into. And I think the main goal for him tonight has to be to take care of the football and play as efficient as possible, and try not to make these huge mistakes that can just let the game get way out of hand.
Let's talk about pass catching options here. I guess just start at the top and kind of where you think that order goes.
I think it probably goes Alvin Kamara, Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, Bob Means.
Okay.
So, like, your number one receiver tonight is your fourth pass catching option, I think. Pat Surtain isn't playing for Denver, but I think their secondary has been really good besides him.
Yeah.
Riley Moss, I think he's in his second year from Iowa. He's been really solid. I think Levi Wallace might be their other corner. He's been pretty good. I mean, they're rock solid, man, and I just have a hard time seeing like the Saints winning one-on-ones against these guys with what they're throwing out there. I don't think they had a very good number 3 receiving option behind those top 2 guys, which is why like nobody has caught any passes to this point. Now you're asking those guys to be number 1 and number 2. I just think it's going to be a lot of like Juwan Johnson in the slot. You try to get Alvin Kamara the ball in his hands out of the backfield as a pass catcher. And I just have a hard time seeing like those receivers like stepping up and having a huge game. I'd love to be proven wrong on that, because it would at least be an entertaining game tonight. But you're asking a lot out of these guys that haven't been in this position before.
Let's talk about the Saints defense. You mentioned that embarrassment. That was a little jarring in the second half, quite frankly. What did it look like in the press box?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard to watch. It's, I think, the worst defensive performance I've seen this is my 7th season covering the team. I know people have kind of complained about Dennis Allen's defenses in the past, giving up explosive plays, and they've had stretches where they haven't been very good, and you'd expect them to be good because for the most part they have been. That was just like a complete and total letdown in the second half. And it wasn't like Tampa was doing anything crazy. They were just breaking tackles or making Saints defenders miss over and over and over again. I mean, most of their 594 yards came after several missed tackles. I think the Saints had 16 in that game. And some of those missed tackles were potential sacks in the backfield. Some of them were, the Chris Godwin 55-yard touchdown run. They had him probably dead to rights for like a 4-yard gain. It turns into a 55-yard touchdown. I mean, it was embarrassing. For a defense that they get a special teams touchdown, they get 3 interceptions in the span of like 5 possessions. For them to give up 51 points in that type of game is it's not as rare as I thought it was. I looked up, there's a bunch of teams who've scored 50 points and have had 3 or more turnovers in a game, but like I don't know. It felt like so out of character for this team, and I thought they were going to have a bounce back last week. So like it would make sense for them to have a much better performance tonight. Denver's been kind of shaky offensively. I think Bo Nix, outside of his ability as a scrambler, has been really kind of underwhelming as a rookie quarterback. He's a guy who feels pressure before it kind of gets there. You could see an avenue for the Saints to have a bounce back game, but I mean, I'm going to have to see it before I'm willing to bank on it,
For sure. I mean, looking at this defense, it's certainly healthier than the offense. Werner, what else are they missing here?
I mean, that's about it.
Okay.
They'll have their full secondary. Willie Gay should be out there next to Demario Davis. Even they might be missing Colin Saunders tonight. But I don't think that's a huge loss if he can't play. So I mean, pretty much full strength. So they have to have a good game tonight because they have no excuses. The offense has every excuse in the world. The defense, I mean, they've got guys dealing with stuff for sure. I think it's pretty evident Demario Davis is playing through something. He's not fully healthy out there. Tyron has missed a lot of time, which is it's different. He's played like 99% of the snaps each of his first 2 seasons in the Saints uniform. But like they need to produce. Like this is the side of the ball that we all kind of expected to be the backbone of this team. And if the offense could be good, the Saints could be good because the defense is going to keep them competitive. If the defense is just going to be bad, they're going to be a bad football team. Even when they get some of their guys back.
And so I think that's the storyline, right? It's like, okay, you got all this stuff on the side that we'll talk about here in a second, but we understand the offense is not going to be very good. Either the defense shows up tonight and potentially, quote-unquote, saves the season and maybe the era of Saints football, or they get embarrassed and it's kind of over, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could see a scenario where they lose 12-9.
Sure.
Like that's possible. Like they could come out and play a good game and still lose. But yeah, I mean, I think that's spot on. They're 32nd in the NFL in total defense right now. And yeah, they did a really good job with red zone defense the first 5 games of the year. But like, yeah, they're 2-4. And if they're 2-5, like we're talking like legitimate questions about the head coach. I mean, it's already popping up. Bobby Abear's like kind of grilling Mickey Loomis about it, and Mickey Loomis is saying, "Look past the results." It's hard to look past the results. Like, yeah, they're a couple games under 500 since the start of 2022 in this Dennis Allen era. And when you start talking about 5-game losing streaks, it'd be the first time they've done that in a long time. I guess they did it in 21 when they were also dealing with a bunch of injuries under Sean. They had Trevor Siemian starting a quarterback, but it's kind of crisis mode here. And there is a huge difference between 3-4 and 2-5, right? Like massive difference. Like this is a hugely important game to set up like that back half of the season where they've got like a manageable schedule. Like if they can't get through this one though, it's gonna make it really hard to make that matter.
No doubt. So let's talk about what goes on in the Dome tonight. You got Sean Payton coming back. Obviously, you got Drew Brees going to the Hall of Fame. Obviously, you've got Thursday Night Football. You've got a town that's feeling the way that it does about the Saints right now. I mean, what do you expect the environment to be like tonight?
I don't know, man. This like feels like a game where there could be quite a few like Denver fans in attendance. I know they travel fairly well. Like this is like it always kind of strikes people, but like I mean, New Orleans is a destination town, and you start getting like these cold weather teams in October, November, December. Like they typically travel pretty well. So like I mean, I'm expecting a good atmosphere just because of who's all there, and I'm sure like Saints fans have been looking forward to seeing Sean on the opposing sidelines and to either give him honey or vinegar, whichever one they want to choose. But I do think that there's going to be a significant Broncos presence tonight, just because that's kind of how it's played out a little bit the last couple of years. I don't know. It's going to be a good atmosphere, but it might be good for the Broncos fans by the end of the game. I don't know. Like last week, there was a ton of Tampa fans here, and obviously they were dealing with their own stuff in Southwest Florida. But by the end of the game, like the whole lower bowl was pretty much all red and pewter cheering on their team. I'm hoping that's not the case this week, because I'd like something more interesting to write about.
Yeah, we'll see. How do you think it goes tonight?
I picked the Saints to lose by 3 when I made my official predictions earlier. It's way too much to overcome on offense. And as much as I was impressed by Spencer Rattler last week and the poise he showed, I think this is a really, really difficult situation to drop a rookie quarterback into for his second career start. So I'm expecting a loss. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'm wrong.
Follow him on Twitter at @Luke_Johnson. He'll be in the Dome tonight for Saints and Broncos. He's with us every single Thursday. Thanks, Luke.
My pleasure, man. Talk to you soon.
Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. If you're watching the Saints tonight, want to get some steaks, want to get some dips, sandwich trays, got a watch party, all your beer, wine, spirits, as well as your ice. You can do it all at Rouse's nearest you. Gumbo at my house tonight because my mom's in town to hang out with the kid who's nursing back to health, and she's making gumbo. So she went to Rouse's like an hour and a half ago. You can do that as well. Come back, talk to Andrew Hutchison, best of Arkansas sports, talking Tigers and Hogs. That is next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, EvolvePT.com. Saints offense needs a lot of physical therapy. They're probably not going to come up to Evolve. They've probably got some in-house going on there, but you don't play for the Saints. So you need to find a physical therapist that can help you get back to being your active self. And Robbie Bolton and his team at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports should be your one-stop shop. They are so hands-on. They can do soft tissue manipulation with massages, dry needling. You can do your cupping as well. They've got isokinetic testing to measure how quickly your muscles are returning to strength and how quickly you can return to being what you want to be, whether that's a youth athlete, whether that's somebody that's trying to get back on the golf course every weekend, trying to get back to working out, running, pickleball, whatever the case may be, or you just don't want to hurt anymore. Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports can help you out with that. Maybe you've had a bad physical therapy experience in the past where you had someone hand you a list of exercises and say, hey, we'll see you next week. Hopefully it's feeling a little bit better. Never going to happen at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. Give them a try. They're on Starring near Highland Road, right there by Sammy's Grill, Starring near Highland Road, or check them out online, evolvept.com. It's Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, evolvept.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2024 Ram 1500 truck for only $32,898. $32,898 for a new Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, 45 minutes from right now. We'll talk LSU and Arkansas with him. I still got to give you my pick for Saints and Broncos this evening. Incidentally, I'll be at LeBair's Baton Rouge tonight inside the ESPN Sportsbook watching Saints and Broncos. So if you're looking for somewhere to watch, I can't imagine a better spot. It's going to be awesome. They got a great setup there. All the TVs. They will have some playoff baseball on this evening, as well as Saints and Broncos. All the great food specials, drink specials. So come on out and see me tonight at LeBair's Casino. We'll be inside the ESPN Bet Sportsbook watching some Thursday night football. I will not be in the Sportsbook on Saturday night. I'll be in the studio doing pre- and post-game for LSU and Arkansas. Should be a great one from up there in Fayetteville. Andrew Hutchinson covers the Hogs for Best of Arkansas Sports, and good enough to give us a few minutes here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Andrew, how are you?
Doing good. How about you?
Doing quite well. I'm told you're a little busier this week. A little restored confidence up on the hill the last couple of weeks after that win over Tennessee.
Yeah, it's amazing what a win over the number 4 team in the country can do to the fan base. They've definitely been revitalized, and the conversation has shifted from can Arkansas make a bowl to kind of how good of a bowl could they make.
Was it, before the Tennessee game, was there any confidence they could play that well? Were you already talking about a coaching hot board? Like, what was the vibe before Tennessee?
You know, it's been up and down because I think it started out, vibes were pretty good. Even after they lost to Oklahoma State in week 2, it was like, hey, they played well. If they can continue doing this, they're going to win some games this year. Even though that's a game you probably look back on and say, man, you should have won that, especially seeing what Oklahoma State has done since then. And then you had somewhat of a letdown in the UAB game. Even though you win, you had to come back from a deficit. You go on the road, you beat Auburn, so everyone's up high again. You lose another close game to A&M, and it's down low. And then, of course, you get the high of all highs by beating Tennessee. So it's been very up and down. And I think generally before the Tennessee game, whatever you thought of the season, whatever you thought of Sam Pittman's future, it was probably the same as you thought it was before the season. There probably hadn't been enough to really change your opinion. The Tennessee game, though, I think actually changed some opinions and got people believing again.
Why did they beat Tennessee?
Travis Williams, Arkansas' defensive coordinator, put together a brilliant defensive game plan. I think he deserves a ton of credit. He's gotten a lot of national praise and everything. But what they did was that Sunday after the Texas A&M game, he came in to Sam Pittman and said, hey, I've got an idea. And his idea was to implement a system that they had not run this year. They implemented a dime package where they got 6 defensive backs, 3 down linemen. They were going to try to make it really hard on Tennessee's young quarterback, Nico. I'm just going to call him Nico. I don't want to try to pronounce his last name. And it worked beautifully. The defensive line played phenomenal. I mean, Eric Gregory played probably one of his best games of his career. Landon Jackson was Landon Jackson. They really stifled that Tennessee rushing attack, even though they have a really good running back in Dylan Sampson. Shut him down, shut the passing game down, and were really phenomenal. I mean, they gave up a couple of touchdowns in the third quarter. It was like back-to-back drives. They kind of fell off. But other than that, they were excellent. So you got to give the credit to the defense in that game.
Obviously Tennessee and LSU are different teams, but do you think that's a new identity for Arkansas's defense to continue that, or was that kind of a one-week deal?
That's what I've been telling people this week, is that's probably the number one thing I'm looking forward to seeing on Saturday, is whether or not they continue that same style, if they keep playing the dime package or not, especially with, LSU does like to sling the ball around the field, but Nussmeier is a different quarterback. He's older, more veteran, so I'm not sure if it would work as well against him. But I'm very much anxious to see kind of what they do, because it's going to be interesting, because they've got several really good quarterbacks left on the schedule. I mean, Nussmeier, Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, Cook at Missouri. So, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see if it's something they continue this week.
What's the strength of Arkansas's defense? You mentioned the defensive front. Is that where you would say the strength lies?
Yeah, I would probably say so. The defensive line, especially that first group. There maybe isn't as much depth there as you would like in the SEC, but that first group is pretty good. I mean, you've got Landon Jackson. He's a potential first-round draft pick. I saw an ESPN mock draft come out this week, and he's projected in the back end of the first round. You don't get too many of those guys like that at Arkansas. And then, of course, Eric Gregory and Cam Ball on the interior have been really solid. And the second defensive end, Nico DeVilliers, he's been okay, solid. And they've got some younger guys that are also coming up strong that have played decent behind those. But I think the defensive front has probably been the strength, but also I think the secondary and the linebackers have played really well. Secondary, maybe the best, most pleasant surprise for this year, especially since you throw in the fact that Jalen Braxton, Arkansas's top cornerback, has only played 2 games. He played the first 2 games of the year, got hurt. He's been dealing with some tendonitis. He's going to be out again this week. And, without him, they've still been really good. The safeties have been impressive. TJ Metcalf is a young guy that I think has a ton of potential. Jaden Johnson's been around forever. And you've got some experience at the corner spots. I mean, Marquise Robinson was a really nice pickup out of the portal from South Alabama. Jaheim Singletary is starting to kind of play like, the heralded recruit he was whenever he signed with Georgia. So really it's a pretty balanced defense. But if I had to pick one as like the strength better than the others, I would say probably the defensive front.
Andrew Hutchinson's our guest, Best of Arkansas Sports. He'll be there inside the Razorback Stadium as LSU and Arkansas do battle at 6 o'clock on Saturday night. Let's switch over to Bobby Petrino's offense. You bring in Taylen Green from Boise State. First update on him is health. And second, what have you seen from him through the first month?
Taylen Green, it sounds like, is going to play. The words that coming out of Arkansas has been encouraging since that Tennessee game when he went down with a knee injury. Originally thought it was an MCL injury, but then come to find out it's a bone bruise. And then the injury report comes out the availability report comes out last night, and Taylen Green's not even on it. So that tells me he's going to play. The question is how effective is he going to be? Because he is a guy that does rely on his mobility. That's probably been the thing that stands out about him through the first half of the season. That's both running the ball, like actually gaining yards by running the ball, but also moving out of the pocket, throwing the ball on the run, things like that. Some of his best throws this year have been on the run, rolling out of the pocket. If the bone bruise hinders that, then that's a worry for Arkansas. That's something to keep an eye on during pregame warm-ups, and then as the game gets going, is kind of how he moves around. But other than that, I mean, he's been up and down. That's been the best way to put it. Very inconsistent throwing the ball. There's been days where he looks like a legitimate NFL prospect, and then there's been other times where it's like, how is this guy the starting quarterback in the SEC? Like, there's been some throws he's missed that are just like, what in the world's going on there? His Tennessee performance was one of his better performances. He looks really good, looks sharp. The other thing about him is he also sometimes gets off to slow starts. Even in the very first game of the year at UAPB, one of the worst college football teams I've ever seen, he got off to a slow start. I mean, he missed a deep ball that should have been a touchdown, missed another pass on the next drive, but then he completed everything else after that. So it seems like he's a guy that needs to kind of get his feet under him, and then he gets better as the game goes on.
One of the statistics, and there's so many statistics I could dive into with Taylen Green, but one of them that is consistent over his 3 years at quarterback has been completion percentage a little under 60%. Is that an accuracy thing, or why not a little bit higher this deep into his college career?
I think it's an accuracy thing, and I think that maybe could be tied to his mechanics. That was something that Bobby Petrino talked about to the media before the season, was like, hey, we're trying to work on his delivery. They want him to come more over the top, use his entire 6'6" frame instead of letting that arm dip and throw a little bit of sidearm or maybe 3/4. And so that's been a major point of emphasis for him, and I think that's maybe helped, but it's also been a little bit of a battle this year, and that's why I say I'm a firm believer that if Taylen Green is a solid quarterback, he's clearly the number one quarterback for Arkansas this year, but he's not like an all-SEC quarterback. Next year, if he comes back, gets a second year under Bobby Petrino, then that's when I think you would see him evolve into a very good, dangerous quarterback, assuming he keeps developing. So I think it's really kind of boils down to mechanics at the end of the day.
As far as the guys around Taylen Green, who are the best 2 playmakers for the Hogs?
Oh, that one's easy. I would say wide receiver Andrew Armstrong and running back Jaquindon Jackson. Those 2 guys are easily their best players. Andrew Armstrong he's an all-SEC caliber wide receiver. He missed the first game of the year. Since coming back, he's been phenomenal. He's been Taylen Green's number one target. maybe even to a detriment, maybe where he locks in on Andrew Armstrong. But it's easy to see why. I mean, he's a safety blanket for him. He's a guy that he's going to catch anything you throw to him. He gets open really good. He maybe doesn't have like super breakaway speed where he can break away from the defense for an 80-yard touchdown or anything like that. But he's got enough speed to get open, good route running, things like that. As far as Jaquindon Jackson at running back, he's a transfer from Utah, a converted quarterback. He's a big physical runner, but he's also got some good shiftiness to him. He can cut and make guys miss. And as long as he's on the field, which is maybe the biggest issue with him, is he's always got some sort of, he's dinged up where he gets not necessarily injured because he's able to keep playing, but he has to come out of the game. But when he's on the field, he's a dangerous runner. He's a guy that can get yards after contact. And so, I mean, I think those two guys are easily their top two playmakers. And now it's the question of who's going to emerge alongside those guys. I mean, one name I could mention is Braylon Russell, a true freshman running back. Probably going to see a little bit more of him this weekend after he had his best game of the year against Tennessee. He's a 253-pound running back, very large guy, very physical runner. So he's a guy that I would look forward to stepping up outside of those top two guys.
He's Andrew Hutchinson, managing editor, Best of Arkansas Sports. Andrew, we appreciate some time. Enjoy the football this weekend, all right?
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
Always enjoy our conversations with Andrew from up there on the hill in northwest Arkansas. I can tell you this, it's going to be a crazy environment to kick that thing off on Saturday. Same type thing with LSU welcoming in Ole Miss. Like, as I said last week, as long as LSU can stay in it, it's going to be awesome. And LSU stayed in it the whole way, and it was awesome. As long as Arkansas can stay in it, it's going to be awesome. And I think that my gut right now, as I sit here on Thursday, and I still have 25 hours until I have to make my pick, I feel like it's going to be a close ball game. Just usually is when LSU plays Arkansas. The last four of them have come down to 3 points. He said one thing in that interview, one thing that I want to talk about when we come back, plus we'll get to best win and worst loss on the board. So let's do that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is the website. Nothing is more important than the safety, security of your home and your family. And for us in the Palmer House, we trusted the folks with Audio Video Security Solutions to help us with our security system. Mitchell Fisher met us out at the house one day. We talked about what we wanted to do, talked about a price point, and the next day he was out there with installation. They've got cameras installed, sensors on the doors and the windows. We've got an app on the phone where we can disarm and arm the burglar alarm remotely. We can look at the picture on the app on the phone of the front door and the back door. We can rewind, we can pause, we can record. All that's done without any cloud storage fees. It's been phenomenal. And the customer service after that installation has been just as great. So for us, for our safety, for our security at home, it's Audio Video Security Solutions. It's Mitchell Fisher and his local team here in Baton Rouge. Give him a call, 225-439-7920. Again, that's 225-439-7920. And get that first appointment done today so you can make sure that you can get that installation done and you can be as safe as possible there at your home. It's Audio Video Security Solutions. Check them out online, avssla.com. Audio Video Security Solutions.
The only thing scary about the deals at Bayou Ford is if you miss out on them, like $15,000 off F-150. Bayou Ford has $15,000 off Ford F-150. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
All right, wrapping up hour number one here. We're brought to you by Rouse's Markets each and every Thursday. District Supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Get on by Rouse's for your pregame meal this evening. Of course, if you're going to watch the Tigers this weekend, always a great spot to do your grocery shopping over at Rouse's. Andrew said something in that segment I wanted to harp on one time because it's the same thing that I opened my show with, and I didn't even know this when I opened my show talking LSU, is that I thought that LSU would see lighter boxes this week because I thought that it doesn't make any sense to try to run up the field and get after Garrett Nussmeier when no one can get past the LSU offensive line. And then he said against Tennessee, they changed everything, went to dime, put a bunch of DBs on the field, and let the three defensive linemen go to work. That sounds like the plan that I would use against LSU, and I think LSU is going to see that. Now, it makes me feel better that Arkansas put that on tape on Saturday. I didn't even know that, but it did. Joe Sloan's got to look at that and got to coach Garrett Nussmeier all week long and say, hey, man, I realize it's fun to try to rip it in there in these tight windows and you trust Kyron to go make plays and stuff, but if they're going to put 3 down linemen and 2 linebackers up there, we've got to run the ball for 4 a pop. And you got to lean on that and lean on that and lean on that until they get out of it. And when they do, then you can trust your team to go up through the air. I really think that's how this game's going to play out on Saturday. I think Arkansas is going to change the way teams play defense against LSU. I said it to open the show. Didn't know that's what Arkansas did on Saturday. Andrew tells me. I think that's even more fuel to the fire on that one. All right, best win, worst loss on the board in college football and the NFL this weekend. Best win in college for me is going to be Georgia at Texas. Obviously, Dogs have 1 loss. You go to Texas, deal them a loss. All of a sudden, you're right there in the Southeastern Conference race. Try to get a bye to get to Atlanta and then win to get that bye. You're right back in the mix. You lose the second one, all of a sudden, you got to be a little tense because you still got to go to Oxford and you still got to play Tennessee. And I realize Georgia's good. It's going to be tough to go to Austin and win. That'd be the best win on the board, in my opinion. Worst loss to me, Kansas State had a nice win, dramatic win over Colorado over the weekend. Don't follow it up and lose at West Virginia. I don't think the Big 12 is very good, but they are jostling for position there to get to that championship game and get into the playoff. And Kansas State's in that mix, but you can't go to West Virginia and lose. So I think the worst loss on the board is in the Big 12. It is Kansas State at a bad West Virginia team. Best win on the board in the NFL, give me the Vikings. I know they're at home. I don't usually do that with home teams, but they're hosting the Lions, who we all really believe are good. We're all kind of thinking the Vikings are good. You really trust in Darnold? I don't know. But if you beat the Lions and drop them to 4-2 and you're 6-0 with the tiebreaker, that's a pretty good win. I'll take Minnesota. Best win on the board, beating the Lions in Minnesota. And the worst loss on the board is kind of a theme. I could have gone with the Bengals. I'm not. The Bengals are playing the Browns. I'm not going with the Bengals. I'm going with the other quarterback from LSU, Jaden Daniels, and the Commanders. Cannot lose to the Panthers. The Panthers are kind of the theme, Beck. Like, that's the way it goes. That's the worst loss.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, at this point, we gotta switch it up a little bit. I mean,
no, I'm not trying. It's not the worst loss outside of what would actually be the worst loss. It's the actual worst loss.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess. But yeah, so I'm wondering if there is
the Eagles don't need to go lose to the Giants. That would be a bad loss too.
Well, I guess too, maybe the worst loss. It may not always be the Panthers, depending on who the Panthers are playing. If the Panthers are also playing a bad team, then maybe it's not.
The Panthers and Jags are also 1-5, so I could look at who they're playing. They're playing each other, so we're not going to do that.
Yeah,
because nothing that the Panthers or Jaguars do is consequential at all.
It is not.
Could I argue that the Broncos would be the worst loss?
Maybe.
Saints don't have any players. We'll talk about that in hour number 2. Also got to talk to Chris Blair in 20 minutes about LSU's trip up to Northwest Arkansas. Hope your Thursday is going awesome. It's a gorgeous one here in the capital city. We'll step aside for Sports Center. We'll come back, talk some more LSU and Arkansas. I'll introduce you to Taylen Green next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. When you think Genesis, you should think luxury. It is a fantastic line of vehicles. And you may not have considered Genesis. In fact, you probably haven't, because Genesis at Baton Rouge hasn't been around that long. But I'm just telling you, if you're considering a new vehicle purchase, Genesis needs to be on your list. Don't think, oh, that's a luxury car, that's out of my league. Just give it a shot. Genesis is luxury vehicles at reasonable prices. And every single Genesis that you purchase off that lot, if it's a new one, comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. Also, it means 3 years of complimentary maintenance. And with that complimentary maintenance comes concierge maintenance. They will come to you, valet that car back to the dealership. You don't have to go sit on the service aisle if you don't want to. They'll bring it right back to you for 3 years. Every car that's on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge is at genesisofbatonrouge.com. genesisofbatonrouge.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2024 Ram 1500 truck for only $32,898. $32,898 for a new Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. For the first time since winning their last World Series championship in 2009, the Yankees have a 2-0 lead in the American League Championship Series. New York today will start Clark Schmidt in Game 3 in Cleveland, 4:30 Eastern, ESPN Radio. And there's one thing to keep an eye on regarding Schmidt, explains ESPN MLB insider Buster Olney.
He has not taken the mound in 8 days, right? Extra rest. So you wonder if the postseason adrenaline, even though he did pitch in the playoffs in 2022 here in Cleveland, will that get to him during the course of the regular season? In starts when he had 5+ days of rest, he had a 1.80 ERA, just 3 homers allowed in 50 innings. In the past, he's handled it really well.
Matthew Boyd counters for Cleveland. Mets down 2-1 host the Dodgers. Game 4 NLCS, 7:30 Eastern, ESPN Radio. NFL, while Justin Fields doesn't know whether he or Russell Wilson will start for the Steelers this Sunday night, he did acknowledge he hasn't been good enough in 6 starts this season, said if he did indeed play well enough, there would be no quarterback debate in Pittsburgh.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen. Coming up Friday, the Chiefs are coming off of the bye. So will it be business as usual for them? Or will Brock Purdy and the Niners give them their first loss of the season? It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boy, does it smell good.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
That's good.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We are working towards the weekend and getting close to it. I want to remind you about our Football Friday coverage here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Starts tomorrow the normal time, 7 o'clock off the bench, 7 to 10, Jake and T-Bob. An hour early for Live at Lunch, 10 to 1 over the, 10 to 1? Is that right? That's 10 to 1. That's 3 hours. Math just not the strong suit. But 10 to 1, Rufino's will be Live at Lunch. Charlie and Jimmy will get you going for the weekend. I'm here from 1 to 3, and Matt will drive you home on Friday from 3 to 6. When Matt's done at 6 o'clock, you got Cade Wasse and his cast of thousands for Louisiana Prep Preview leading you up to Catholic High football. And they're with you at 10 o'clock for Louisiana Prep Scoreboard, getting you caught up on all the prep scores from around Louisiana. So from, 7 a.m. to midnight on Fridays, we are live and local all day long. So check us out starting tomorrow at 7 o'clock. I wanted to talk Broncos here. I decided not to because we'll talk about Broncos Saints after we talk to Chris Blair at 2:30. I want to talk about Taylen Green because I do think this is an interesting storyline and an interesting aspect to this game. You probably know who Taylen Green is. He's the quarterback for Arkansas. He's 6'6", 230 pounds. He's a great athlete. He's from Louisville, Texas, went up to Boise State, and he was a starting quarterback there for 2 seasons, his redshirt freshman season of 2022 and then his redshirt sophomore season of 2023. That first year as a redshirt freshman, he kind of did what you would imagine a 6'6", great high school athlete Boise State quarterback would do. He ran a lot, he was super productive, and he wasn't extremely efficient through the air. That sounds like what a redshirt freshman quarterback who's a really good athlete would be. That year, in 10 starts, he completed 61% of his throws, about 200 yards per game. He ran for over 100 yards 3 different times in games. He had 24 total touchdowns and 6 interceptions. He was named the Mountain West Freshman of the Year for those contributions as a redshirt freshman at Boise. His next year, he didn't really take a step forward. He completed worse, 57% of his throws. He threw for 146 yards per game. He threw for 11 touchdowns and threw 9 interceptions. And then he ran for 436 yards on 6 yards per carry, and he added 9 rushing touchdowns. But he did not progress as a passer. Well, Bobby Petrino gets the offensive coordinator job at Arkansas, and they got to go get a quarterback because KJ Jefferson's leaving. And he identifies Taylen Green, and they bring him in. And keep in mind, and I don't want to make the obvious comparison here because he coached him in college, but Bobby Petrino took Lamar Jackson when nobody really wanted Lamar Jackson to play quarterback, and look what the result was of that. He's not afraid to take a really good athlete and try to make them into a more productive passer. And while the numbers aren't markedly better this year, I would argue the performance has been better because he's doing it against better competition. Through his first 6 games this year, Taylen Green is completing 57% of his throws for 251 yards per game, 5 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. He's run the ball 81 times, so he's running at double-digit times most weeks for 326 yards and 4 touchdowns. What I'm doing for the purposes of Taylen Green's statistics is I'm going to throw out Arkansas Pine Bluff, who Andrew Hutchinson just told us 20 minutes ago is one of the worst college football teams he's ever seen. And apologies to Coach Dilfer. I'm going to toss UAB out the window too because they're also atrocious. I just want to look at Oklahoma State, Auburn, Texas A&M, and Tennessee. And when I look at those statistics and I watch the highlights of those games, I think he played well in 3 of the games. Against Oklahoma State, inarguably, Taylen Green played a great football game. He threw for 416 yards and a touchdown. He ran for 61 more on 18 carries. They put up a ton of yards and a ton of points. Now, Oklahoma State's not great, but when you throw for 416 yards and you run for 61 more, like that's a great day at the office. Taylen Green was great in that game. They played Auburn on the road, and I would suggest this was a bad game from Taylen Green. Now, there's a caveat to that. He completed only 12 of 27 throws. It's not like Auburn has got Darrelle Revis and Deion Sanders running down back there. Okay, Auburn doesn't beat anybody. So 12 of 27 is not good. 151 yards. He turned it over twice with 2 interceptions. He did run it 18 times for 80 yards, which is very productive. But I don't think he was very good against Auburn. I thought he was good against A&M and good against Tennessee, and those are 2 good defenses. Against A&M, he threw for 279 and a touchdown, did throw a pick. He was 23 of 41, which is just a tick over 50%. That's not that great, but he just doesn't complete a lot of percentage of his throws. He just doesn't. It's never been his MO. He's been a starting quarterback for 2.5 years. He's a 60% completion kind of guy. And then against Tennessee last week, 19 of 27 is pretty good. 266 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He also didn't get the running game going in that one either before he got hurt and left the game. But in those games, he's completing 57% of his throws. He's throwing for 278 a game. 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, not great, but he has run for 99 yards, including 80 in the Auburn game. Here's the thing that very much stands out about Taylen Green when you watch him on the highlight reel and they play. Bobby Petrino is doing a very, very good job of making things a little easier for Taylen Green. Green spends a ton of time in bootlegs and half rolls. Why? Well, it's pretty easy. Because that cuts the field in half, makes your read easier. And if you don't like what you see and you're already rolling out, just run. And he does. And he runs it a lot. 18 times against Oklahoma State, 18 times against Auburn, 13 times against A&M. Like, he's going to run a lot. And he's not going to complete a huge percentage of his throws. But you have to deal with his athleticism. We can't know today, sitting here on Thursday, what Taylen Green's health status is going to be. Andrew Hutchinson said he's going to play. Based on the fact that he wasn't on the injury report yesterday, he's going to play. Sam Pittman said yesterday on the teleconference that he's not to full speed yet. We hope he will be. My guess is when he wakes up on Saturday and he gets on the bus to go to the stadium on Saturday, he'll have a little discomfort in his knee. He'll feel it, but he'll be able to go on adrenaline and play a little bit. Now, when you take that first shot, who knows? All bets are off for anybody at that point. But I think he's able to play, and I don't think he's going to be massively compromised. This isn't going to look like Mahomes running around on one leg in that playoff run. Green will be okay after a week off with a bone bruise on his knee. But LSU is going to have to do a really good job, especially on the edges. Braden Swinson, Savion Jones, Deshaun Woback, Major Burns, all these guys that are on the edges for LSU have to realize you're going to see a lot of boots, and if you rush too far up the field and get beyond the quarterback, he'll just take off. That doesn't do you any good. Trying to fly off the edge and get back there and create a huge sack like you would against Jackson Dart or Miller Moss doesn't do you as much good against Taylen Green. Jackson Dart and Miller Moss will kill you from the pocket if given the chance. They're veteran. They're accurate. They complete a high percentage of throws. They throw for 3,500, 4,000 yards. That's who they are. Taylen Green's not going to kill you standing in the pocket. He's not. He might complete some passes, and Armstrong's been good for him, and Satania's a good athlete, and he might complete some. He's not inept back there, but he's not going to dissect you. He will if you fly at the field too fast and let him just start running. And Braden Swinson met with the media on Tuesday, and he talked about, one of the things Coach Peoples has told us a lot in pass rush is don't rush past the quarterback. You rush from underneath the quarterback, and that is something you can do. Arkansas does allow some pressures and some sacks. Taylen Green will hold on to the ball a little bit. If you look at sacks allowed, they're 11th in the SEC, meaning only 5 teams are worse. They allow 2.3 a game. Tennessee and actually not Tennessee. It was Auburn and Oklahoma State and A&M all got back there 3 times and sacked Taylen Green. And I think LSU will be able to get back there and make some plays if he holds on to the ball because he doesn't like the picture he sees. But you can't just let him off the hook by running. That's too easy for him. Make him beat you throwing it. That means lane integrity, controlled pass rushes, staying underneath the quarterback, keeping him in front of you, and then finishing when you have an opportunity. It's not like Arkansas's offensive line is dynamite. It's fine. But that's what you got to do. Because if you start getting up the field too quick, they'll draw you to death. They'll quarterback draw you to death, and he'll just break contain. Can't let him do that. Way, way too easy. So, Taylen Green, not the abject disaster we were forecasting back in August. Also not going to kill you. I think it's a different game plan for LSU this week than it has been the last few. Maybe going back to Lenora Sellers, and you let Sellers get going a little bit running the ball. So, it's going to be a fascinating matchup. I think he's going to be healthy, and I think it changes the way that LSU has to play it, but we'll see. Chris Blair is the voice of the Tigers. He's going to join us. Coming up next, talk about that big win over Ole Miss and what he expects to see on Saturday night.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been running Boudreaux's for 40 years down there in the 985. They're a certified Generac dealer. They're a premier Generac generator dealer. That means they're in the top 3% nationwide in Generac generator sales. Why choose Boudreaux's Electrical? Well, for a couple reasons. One, every generator comes with a 7 to 10 year warranty based on the kind of generator that you buy. That's one reason. Two, they're going to monitor your generator remotely to make sure that it's always ready to roll. So you don't need to find out your generator is not functioning properly when it's time for the generator to come on. That doesn't do you a lot of good. But when Boudreaux's Electrical can monitor it remotely, they can determine when there's an issue, whether it's mechanical or something's happened and there's been some kind of accident. Then they can come out and fix it so that when that storm blows through, when that person runs into the power line down the street, when that ice storm happens, you're ready to go, and that Boudreaux's Electrical generator is ready to fire up. You work from home, don't take the chance that you can't be productive because the power went out at noon on a Tuesday. Get that Generac generator installed today from my friends at Boudreaux's Electrical Services. You can call them at 985-397-1562, 985-397-1562, or 225-300-9389 in Gonzales, 225-300-9389, or the easy way out, I tell you every single day, BoudreauxElectrical.com, BoudreauxElectrical.com.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Talk a little bit about the Saints and Broncos coming up in 15 minutes. Thursday night football from the Dome coming up this evening. Tigers headed to Fayetteville to take on the Razorbacks. 6 o'clock kickoff. Chris Blair will be on the call, as well as the Brian Kelly Show this evening from TJ Ribbs. He joins us every Thursday on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chris, how are you?
Hon, I'm good. You made your pick yet?
Have not.
Oh, okay.
More of a Friday type thing.
Okay, I'll tune in tomorrow, see what you got.
Yeah, lock it in. I don't know what it's going to be, candidly. It's usually more of like a 12:20 on Friday decision before a 1 o'clock show. So we'll see what the next 22 hours or so bring. But I had a pick on last Friday for LSU Ole Miss. I picked Ole Miss to win. That did not happen. Did you enjoy your Saturday night?
I did, but when you made that pick, it reverberated from your studios and all across Baton Rouge, all the way to campus here. It was amazing.
Look, I was on the set for the pregame show, and I had multiple people come over and tell me that I was an idiot for picking that on Friday. People do not like when I don't pick LSU.
No, I had a blast last Saturday night. I had a blast all Saturday. It was just a great day. I had a sense. I got here pretty early, which I told you last week. I mean, I got here because I wanted to make sure I could get inside, the campus proper before, it locked down. And I mean, my parking lot was full at 10:30. And so I had a sense then, wow, this thing is really going to be a powder keg. And, it lived up to it. Tiger Stadium was legendary. Tiger Stadium. The fans, made it. I mean, when I think of a home field advantage, and you hear coaches say it all the time that, I don't know how much that affects the visiting team as much as it lifts the home team. But I think it affected Ole Miss. I mean, I think that was clear that the fans did their job, and the Tigers eventually did theirs in overtime, and it was just a great night.
After a year and a half of kind of seeing the offense have to carry the load, it was kind of nice to see the defense show up early when the offense was sputtering. What did you see from the Tigers?
Yeah, that's what we kind of kept saying on the radio was like, once we got to the late in the third quarter and into the fourth quarter, it was like, this is so exciting to watch this defense fly to the football and really create havoc and make things difficult for Jackson Dart, who's an excellent player, and just make things difficult for Ole Miss overall. And it was like, it's just too bad. We're, with the offense, if we could just get them on track, this defense, looked even better than I thought against South Alabama. And, I've been saying for, 2 weeks that, yeah, it was South Alabama, but to me, watching them defensively, it looked like a defense. Like, forget who they were playing. They were in position, and they made the tackle when they were in that position. And I thought if you could translate that over and then just supersede, the energy that your opponent in Ole Miss would have, that this defense would look pretty good. And frankly, it did. So it was. I'm glad the offense eventually, answered the call, and what a call they did. I mean, when things weren't going right, I just, I've got a lot more respect now, and I had a ton. Let me be frank, I had a ton in Garrett Nussmeier, and I've got even more now because his ability to just put all that bad stuff behind him and say, look, my guys need me, the offense needs me, these fans need me, this team needs me, and to go out there and do it the way he did, I mean, kudos to him.
How many times did you say Whit Weeks' name on Saturday?
A bunch. I mean, I was telling somebody earlier today, he reminds me a little bit of like, Devins last year. It's like he's either making the tackle or he's in on the tackle. And even if he doesn't get credit for, an assist, he's where the football is. I mean, it's just amazing to watch him run. And I've said it to you many times. He is so much fun to see him have success and to know him away from the field. I mean, a guy who would literally play, I think, 3 games a week if they would let him. I mean, that's how much he loves football. And to watch him out there and having the success now is just fantastic. And I think he's, I don't know what he's like. I don't know if he's in your face kind of guy off the, with his teammates, but leading by example and showing what it's like to enjoy playing the sport is got to be contagious in that defensive locker room.
Major Burns has made the move to star full-time, and now Zy Alexander has returned to outside corner and Sage Ryan dipped back to safety. Do you think those guys look more comfortable on Saturday?
I really do. I mean, I think it was Major Burns, certainly his best performance of the season. I think it's one of his better games, period. And, Coach Kelly was the first to point that out on Monday, but kudos to Major Burns. But I kind of like that setup and those guys in those positions. Again, they were flying to the football, they were tackling, and they were just in position. And, I think the emergence hunt of this front seven, which I can't say enough about Kevin Peoples and Blake Baker. I just think last year, you looked at a second that was constantly having to be on an island for 7 or 8 seconds, in a play. That's hard to do against really good receivers. And the fact that LSU is being able to get pressure, I mean, they get the sacks, but even when they don't get the sacks, they get some hurries, they get some bad throws, some bad footwork from their quarterback. And that, I think, helps the back end. And that's what Coach Kelly said all last year. He goes, look, we can hang this on the secondary. And certainly, truth be told, there have been mistakes made, blown coverages, people out of position, all of that. But there also is something to be said for complementary football with your front seven creating some pressure on the offense so that they don't get clean pockets and they don't get tons of time to go through their progressions. And that, that limits that time for the secondary to maybe 3, 4, 5 seconds in a given snap. And I think all of that's working together now in concert. And that's why I'm excited about what the defense can do for the rest of the season.
I think you've been around long enough now to kind of speak in some sample size terms. I mean, what do you make of this LSU and Arkansas rivalry, and that Arkansas has played LSU so closely over the years where they've really struggled to compete with A&M and even Alabama?
Well, I think I upset some of the Arkansas folks earlier this week, and I certainly didn't mean to. They asked me, do I think the rivalry in this matchup means more to Arkansas than LSU? And I said, yeah. I said, now, when the boot, that 200-pound monstrosity, is not in Baton Rouge, I think it bothers LSU that it should be in Baton Rouge. But, I think Arkansas, it's a much bigger game, and it has been for a long time, certainly since they joined the SEC. So, I mean, they get up for it. I mean, this is their biggest game, and they're going to try to play it down. You know, they took on Tennessee, and that was a big game, and they've always got to match up with this team or that team. But this is the game. I mean, I've seen it. I've been around it. I've run into enough Arkansas fans during basketball and baseball season for them to tell me that that's the one they circled. So I think that's what happens. I mean, we've seen a ton of teams that on paper for LSU, talent for talent, should go up there and win by 10, 14 points, and yet they don't. They have trouble scoring. They got to win by 3. I mean, that's amazing that since the 2019 team where they, shellacked the Razorbacks around, since then it's been 3-point games, 3 wins for LSU and 1 win for Arkansas. So I don't know. I just know that when I look at Arkansas, again, they played a great game against Tennessee. I think they got after Nico early, kind of got him out of rhythm. They tackled extremely well. And then Coach Petrino used his big running backs, both, I believe, Jenkins and Russell. Those 2 guys are a load. And, they threw the ball over the middle of the field and got some, decent passing game going. But they're going to be up for this game. And if LSU goes up there and does what LSU can do, I'm sorry. I just think they're a better team. They should win this game. But that's been said many times before, and it just hasn't always worked out that way.
My contention is LSU needs to run the ball a little better this week, and we just had Andrew Hutchison of Best of Arkansas Sports on in the last hour, and he said one of the things that Arkansas did against Tennessee was they kind of went to a dime, put 3 linemen down, and put a bunch of DBs out there, and I think they kind of might do that again against LSU, see if Garrett will throw it in some tight windows against zone coverage, but that would open up the run game against a lighter box that Brian Kelly said we're not seeing a lot. So do you think LSU is going to lean on the running game a little bit more than they have this weekend?
Well, I think so, but I was a little surprised this past Saturday because if you remember when we talked last week, I said to me I was interested to see if Coach Golding and Coach Kiffin would pretty much rely on the 4-man rush most of the game and try to set everybody back in coverage. And for most of the night, they did. They rushed 5. Occasionally, they would throw an all-out blitz, maybe with 6 guys coming after Garrett. But, again, we weren't really able to successfully run the football. And, again, I think you're going to see a defense much like what you just said. That is going to try to certainly not let anything get beyond them or behind them. And they understand that LSU's most effective running game has really been the passing game, the short intermediate passes. So if, again, you don't have, that type of numbers, I think you should be able to run a little bit. But, Coach Kelly said it's not just the running backs. It's not just the offensive line, although they can improve as well. It's also perimeter blocking by the tight ends and receivers. And I even heard, Josh Williams this week during the media session. I mean, he repeated that almost verbatim. He said, look, it's 11 guys, and all 11 have to execute their job for us to be able to successfully run the football. So I know they're working on it, and it'd be great to be able to do so. And I think you can run against Arkansas, but we'll see.
We certainly will. How do you feel like the guys are going to respond to a huge win and going on the road to face a team that doesn't have the the glitz and glamour of a top 5 team attached to their name?
Well, I mean, I think they turn the page pretty quickly, and I think it's because they know this is a big game. But it's easy. But I think the way the schedule lines up, honey, it's easy to keep the attention of this team. I mean, you take on the Ole Miss top 10 matchup, but when you look at it, it's midway through the season, and there's a lot of big games remaining. So I think that whether or not you think Arkansas is as good as Ole Miss, or whether you think Arkansas is as good as Alabama or Vandy, the truth is it's a huge game because everything is still on the line, everything is still in front of you, and there's no reason in the world that you shouldn't be able to get up and say, let's go on the road, because I think with Arkansas's record, with Arkansas's resume of defeating number 4 Tennessee, you go up to Fayetteville at night and you beat them, I think that does nothing but move LSU up. And frankly, Arkansas's got all the motivation in the world. Forget the boot. Forget, LSU living in their head rent-free year-round. The fact that they defeated Tennessee, and I get the sense they felt like they didn't get enough respect for that. I know that they're talking this week about, all right, guys, we beat Tennessee. We didn't get any respect. We got the bye week, and according to their availability report, they got real healthy.
Yeah.
Now we got another top 10 team coming in, and we can make our season, and we can get that respect if we defeat LSU at home, in back-to-back top 10 wins. So there's plenty for both of these teams beyond the boot and beyond the border and all that other stuff. The season, everything in front of this team for LSU is still there. that's why I think they've been very locked in this week. I'll be interested to hear what Coach Kelly says tonight about, how quickly they were able to put it past them. And he's pretty honest about how they do, during the week, how much work and how much, they were locked in. So be interested to hear his thoughts.
You can hear him tonight, 7 o'clock, Brian Kelly Show from TJ Ribs on Acadian Thruway. Chris Blair will be there. You can also catch it on the LSU Sports Radio Network. Tigers and Hogs, 6 o'clock. That means we start up at 4 o'clock on the network. Chris, thanks so much. Safe travels up to Northwest Arkansas.
We'll do it. Talk to you Saturday.
He is Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers on the LSU Sports Radio Network. As I mentioned, 4 o'clock pregame on the network, 1 o'clock pregame here on Eagle 98.1 for LSU and Arkansas. Be Saints and Broncos tonight. I'll give you my thoughts and my pick on Saints and Broncos coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group. Jonathan Carbo and his team right here inside Baton Rouge. But that doesn't mean you got to be in Baton Rouge to use their services. They can handle you anywhere you are, statewide, and even beyond. Give them a call. The Highland Insurance Group. They're online at highlandig.com. If you're a business owner and I say EPL insurance, do you know what I mean? If I say cyber insurance, do you really have a handle on what that covers? Do you know what your umbrella limit should be? You might, and that's great if you do. If you're a business owner and you have no idea what I'm talking about, you're just kind of worried on running your business and you know that your insurance guy will get those documents to you when renewal time comes up, just take a second and call the Highland Insurance Group. Visit them online at highlandig.com. Explore those policies and make sure that you're covered, because the worst time to dive into those policies and try to figure out what they say is after the incident and potential claim has already happened. At that point, there's nothing anyone can do, and you're at the mercy of basically the attorneys. Go ahead and contact the Highland Insurance Group and protect your business with insurance. It's not fun to talk about. I did it for 7 years. I know. I went into those meetings. I know how they can be. But if you can trust your insurance broker and know that everything is in place, when something bad happens, it just gives you a lot of assurances. I've also been in those meetings where a claim is settled and everybody's made good and the business moves on. Those are the success stories. It just doesn't happen when you sign those papers to renew the documents. Call the Highland Insurance Group. Check them out online, highlandig.com. Make sure your insurance broker is a trusted part of your business. If you're looking for employee and group benefits as well, Highland Insurance Group can help you out with all of that. It's Jonathan Carbo and his team at Highland Insurance Group, highlandig.com.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Saints and Broncos tonight. Going to be just an interesting feeling inside that Superdome on Thursday evening. For those that missed this earlier this week, I was talking about how it's going to be a unique night in Saints history. And unique is an overused word. All the time you hear more unique or kind of unique or sort of unique or the most unique. It's either unique or it's not. And this one is unique. One of a kind. This is the only time Sean Payton will come back for the first time. This is the only time they'll induct Drew Brees into the Saints Hall of Fame. And you add in the fact that the city is a little cranky with the way things are right now. You add in the factor of Dennis Allen's, time potentially coming to an end if things don't turn around. And you take all those ingredients and pour them in, and it's something we've never seen before. And yeah, it just comes down to a 4-quarter football game, and that's really all that matters. But there are so many different factors at play here that I think are going to make it feel really weird in there tonight. I'm curious to see for those that go, and certainly those that cover it, and we'll talk to somebody tomorrow about it. But what the energy is going to feel like for all of that, for Drew Brees, for Sean Payton, for Dennis Allen, for the Saints team, for this defense, for Spencer Rattler, like all that is interesting. And I'm just not sure which direction it's going to go. We have a piece up as of this morning on LouisianaSports.net. We do a thing called Station Survey where we just poll folks from the station. And I specifically singled out those who've got a little black and gold in their blood. We talked in this to T-Bob, to Beck, to Charlie, to Matt, to Musso, to Paul O'Neill, Jordan Kitchens. Like all those guys are big Saints guys. Like Hester played for the Chargers. Like that's where his loyalty lies. I don't necessarily bleed black and gold. Same goes for Alondra. Taylor's a Cowboys fan. So I kept it in-house for this one. And it was almost unanimous that the feeling for Sean Payton is one of extreme gratitude, of thankfulness, and for appreciation for what he did. Now, Jordan's still cranky because he thinks that, and the words high and dry were used 3 different times with the way that Sean Payton
I noticed that.
But most of the time, folks felt good about what Sean Payton did and don't harbor any resentment. Beck, you were in that camp.
Yeah, I am. I also noticed me and Jordan both said high and dry, which was interesting. But yeah, man, I have to be grateful for Sean Payton just because there's no way you can't be. I mean, the Saints. It's been noted the Saints were a joke before that. It took them 33 years to win a playoff game. They were one of the biggest jokes in any. Yeah, they were the biggest joke of any sports franchise in any sport for a really long time. And Sean Payton came in and changed it after a couple of years. Not to mention after Hurricane Katrina. So it's hard to be upset. I will say I understand and like I said in my piece is that there are going to be fans that are not going to like Sean Payton because of what he. Like, there's nothing you can do about it, but it's just going to happen. Now, I understand where they're coming from because it just really wasn't great timing on his part, and there's no other way to look at it other than the fact that he saw that the Saints were going in a downturn and probably a rebuild and decided to get out of town and took a year off and then came back to coaching. So the optics for it weren't great, but there's no way you can be, in my opinion, there's no way you can be upset with Sean Payton because he was too good for this franchise. He brought us the Super Bowl. There's no way you can overlook that even with what he did.
Yeah, I mean, my thing about this is I'm not going to tell you as a Saints fan or as an LSU fan, if we're talking about LSU, I'm never going to tell someone how to feel because it doesn't do any good. You feel how you feel.
Yeah.
You can certainly tell someone what they could consider. And I think that all the things that you brought up are completely reasonable to consider what he took over when people like you. It would be reasonable for no one to take that Saints job at that time. Why would you take that job? They suck. No one lives in the city currently. Like Sean Payton talks about trying to get Drew Brees to come to New Orleans and driving around, and there's just nobody because it's just flood damage. And so everyone remembers that. And then you think about the 15 years, and it's easy to take it for granted when you're in the middle of it. But obviously, I think that if you polled 10 Saints fans, which I think there were 6 or 7 in the station survey, you're going to get an over 90% approval rating there, and then you're going to get the one that's just never going to let you because you quit on us. And I'm not telling you that's wrong. Like you just mentioned, like it could be that you feel differently, but I think Sean Payton probably earned that right.
Yeah.
And you're not. He didn't go coach the Falcons. It's not like Nick who left and then came back and he's coaching. He's wrecking you every year. He's far away. You're going to play him once every 4 years. He comes to New Orleans once every 8 years, and there's a likelihood he never coaches in New Orleans again. I mean, if he's not the coach there 8 years from now and they don't change the scheduling, he won't. So this is an interesting night. And tonight, I think to get into the game here, which is obviously the most important thing, I have to put my foot in my mouth. Like, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm not never going to be afraid to come in here and say I was wrong. And I was wrong. 3 weeks ago, I said, I don't want to hear about Saints injuries. Everyone's hurt. We're not talking about it. We're not discussing it. Like I said that. That was wrong. Because there is no way to analyze this game and to judge the Saints franchise as a whole with the offensive unit they are putting out there. There are 32 teams in this league. If I went to every single one of those teams, I took their starting center, starting left guard, starting right guard, basically starting tight end, whatever you want to call Taysom, starting quarterback, and top 2 wide receivers. That is 7 starters off the starting 11, including your biggest weapons outside of Kamara. If I go to any team in the NFL, they are going to be crippled offensively. Crippled. And I told you we're not talking about injuries anymore. We're going to. I can't do that. It is not a reasonable thing for me to suggest, well, Kubiak better dial it up. I don't care that you just signed the Jets practice squad center and Spencer Rattler's played 4 quarters in his NFL life, and you got wide receivers running around no one's ever heard of, and you don't have your interior line to block the Broncos' defensive front, which is one of the top 5 in football. Like, just dial it up, coach. Go get them. No excuses. Come on, man. That's not realistic. I can't. I was wrong 3 weeks ago. I don't have another way to put it, Beck. Like, I would like to sit here. Like, I watched Skip Bayless sit down with the Barstool guys this week, and they called him on like 15 terrible takes, and he did not own a single one of them as incorrect. It's like, oh, well, couldn't know Johnny Manziel was going to do a bunch of drugs. Well, you were an idiot. Johnny Manziel was never a good NFL quarterback. He didn't study any tape. He was never going to work. He didn't have maturity at A&M. He wasn't going to find it in Cleveland. And for me, like, I'm okay with saying I'm just dead wrong. And for me to just try to brush injuries to the side and say, hey, they're all pro football players, go get it done. 7 starters? Give me a break.
No, I don't want you to think that way, because at the time when we were having those discussions, it wasn't as bad as this is. This is a whole nother level of having so many guys that are your starters being out. I mean, that was a different situation. So I'm not going to say you have to completely, eat crow on this one, but this is a totally different. It is really completely different situation. It's funny because when the Saints played the Broncos last 4 years ago, it was a COVID year,
and no quarterbacks.
And the Broncos' complete quarterback room was out, so they had to play a receiver, I think, at quarterback, and he completed 1 pass. It was a complete blowout. I'm not going to say that this is the exact. Obviously, it's not the exact replica, because the Saints do have a quarterback, not a wide receiver playing. But when you have this many players that you trust to start, and they are your best players, and they're not in the game, there's just not really much you can say about it, other than the fact that we just don't have our best players. Yeah, and it's not a way around it.
There's not. And so here's what the stage is set for tonight. And this is a touch dramatic. There's a touch of dramatic effect here, but it's rooted in very much truth. I believe that Dennis Allen's defense, sans Pete Werner, takes the field tonight with his life as an NFL head coach on the line. Because if that defense against Sean Payton's offense with Bo Nix at quarterback, basically 10 of 11 guys, and I use air quotes here, healthy and available. If they go out there and give up a 30 spot and get beat, Dennis Allen's last chance at being a head coach is over. Because you fall to 2-5, you're not going to make up for that. 3-4, we can talk about it. And it's going to have to be the defense that gets them to 3-4 because Spencer Rattler ain't throwing for 360 and 4 touchdowns tonight with that group of dudes. So Dennis Allen, it's a short week. I got it. But you're pretty healthy on defense. You got embarrassed 3 days ago. Dennis Allen's entire life has been in football, from peewee football all the way through playing in college to becoming a coach, working up the ranks, defensive coordinator, got a head coaching job, defensive coordinator again, promoted to head coach. This is the pinnacle of his coaching career, and this will be his last chance as a head coach in the NFL. Maybe he's with the Saints 6 more years. Maybe he's with the Saints 3 more weeks. But this is it. And his defense must go out there against a mediocre NFL offense in prime time with his old boss on the other sideline at home in the Dome with his coaching career on the line. He's either the head coach of the Saints next year or the defensive coordinator of the Jaguars or the new head coach, like whatever the case may be. But this is it. And again, I fully transparent, like there's a tinge of being dramatic there. But it's rooted in some real truth, because if you fall to 2-5, you've lost 5 in a row. Is there any hope that you could come back from that? I
don't think you're being dramatic at all. I don't.
He's not going to get fired tomorrow.
No, he's not. And he probably, honestly, in all reality, from what people are saying close to, Nick Underhill, other guys there, I don't think they're going to fire him in midseason unless they lose unless they lose three more in a row after this or something. But I think they're going to wait. But yeah, if he loses this one and just all the everything surrounding it with what the game is going to mean, I think there's no way he will survive.
Because as many excuses as I'm going to dish out for that offense, I don't have any for the defense.
No,
you're missing one linebacker, and Willie Gay's plenty capable going in there and playing. And if you can't stop Bo Nix at home, well, all right, that's lights out. So we'll see. Kickoff tonight at 7:15. I will be out at LeBair's Baton Rouge. Very much excited for that. If you were looking for somewhere to come watch the game, they got incredible drink specials at LeBair's tonight. They've got towers of domestic beer for $11. You can fill those things up like 9 times. It's incredible. They got great game watching seats that you can sit in. They got tables if you got a group, and there's blackjack tables right by the sports book that you can watch football on and play a little blackjack. I'll be there starting about 6:15, 6:30, and I'll be there throughout the evening. So come on by and see me. I'll have some cups, some shirts, some hats to give away, and honestly, I'll probably be publishing some stories from Ross Jackson in the Dome on LouisianaSports.net. So it'll be a good time at LeBair's Sportsbook at ESPN Bet this evening. Hope you'll come out and see us. We'll come back, close things up on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, right there, Airline and Piku, new sponsor here, the Hunt Palmer Show. I was over there at the dealership last week. Just could not have been more impressed with the operation. Their sales ambassadors are just fantastic folks to work with. Richie, general manager, is great as well. It's first class, just facility. You go into the service aisle, it's completely clean. They got this massive coffee maker that can do everything you can imagine. Got all the snacks laid out, and it's perfectly clean. It's an experience when you drive a Genesis. But the most important thing to most people when they purchase a vehicle is safety. And Genesis has the entire line that has been given incredible safety honors. All of the line was given the was given the IIHA top safety pick, and some of them were top safety picks plus. If you're in the market for a new vehicle and you have not considered Genesis, which is possible because it's pretty new, just give them a shot over at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every single car on the lot is right there online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. But get on by and see them. If you don't have time to take a test drive because you don't want to go to Airline Highway, that's okay. They'll come to you. They will allow you to test drive it from your home, to test drive it from your office. Have one of the brand ambassadors come out, get in that car with you, take it on a test drive. They make things as easy as possible for you. That's what you expect in a luxury dealer, and Genesis of Baton Rouge is certainly luxury. Check out the inventory online, genesisofbatonrouge.com, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment. Dave's back on. Coors Light. Choose chill.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Hockey is back in Baton Rouge. The Baton Rouge Zydeco opened the 2024 season against the Biloxi Seawolves Thursday, October 17th. That is tonight at the Raising Cane's River Center. Register at 1045ESPN.com for your chance to win tickets to opening weekend. That's not just today, throughout this weekend as well. They will be playing. For more information or to purchase tickets, visit RaisingCanesRiverCenter.com.
Just realized I didn't give a score pick
for
Saints and Broncos. I have one right in mind. I think it's actually going to be perfectly correct. Broncos 24, Saints 12 is what I've got.
12, interesting.
Here's my thought. Saints get a couple field goals.
Yeah.
Broncos go up 24-6. Okay. Saints get a touchdown.
They
got to go for 2 to get it to 10.
Or they could just kick 4 field goals too, which may happen.
Could.
Wouldn't be surprised.
So I'll go with 24-12. Probably going to be wrong, but maybe it'll be right. Rouse's official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. If you're looking to do some grocery shopping for the weekend, always invite you to get on by Rouse. They got fantastic deals, and they got everything you need for your game watching party this weekend, whether it's Saints and Broncos tonight or LSU in Arkansas this weekend. Rouse's location all over South Louisiana, all the way to Gulf Shores, Alabama. There's got to be one in your area. Ours, personally, in the Palmer House, is Burbank and Leave It. Get on by Rouse. It's always a fantastic shopping experience. All right, Beck, take it or leave it.
All righty, first the one here during halftime of the Saints game tonight. Drew Brees, who is being inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame, he will attempt to lead the crowd in his famous pregame chant, which I don't know if you've heard it before, but it's not exactly the easiest one. It's not just, hey, 1, 2, 3, go Saints.
Yeah, not
it's
that.
It's a little bit more intricate, but the fans will do it perfectly. Take it or leave it.
I will leave that. There's going to be a lot of no one knows what it is, but everyone loves Drew, so they'll go nuts when he gets on the Jumbotron.
Yep.
I just saw a Saints Hall of Fame lunch is going on today. Drew Brees going in, and Sean Payton did stop by, fully adorned in his Broncos gear. He dapped up everybody from Miscale. He didn't dap up Miscale. He gave Miscale a kiss on the cheek there, but dapped up Mickey Loomis, Drew Brees. Saw Jimmy Graham was there as well. So some familiar faces in town in New Orleans this weekend. Should be, as we said, a weird environment.
All right, last one here. The Cleveland Browns will not be renovating their current stadium, Huntington Bank Field, as previously thought. They will instead be building a dome in Brook Park, a suburb of Cleveland. Take it or leave it?
Take it.
I'll take it.
This is the take that everyone's going to hate. I mean, they're going to hate it. All those teams up there ought to be having domes.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't need January football games in 9-degree weather
or Buffalo,
snow.
where they have to scoop the snow.
Just awful.
They have to get fans to come.
The whole city's out there shoveling snow.
Yeah.
Dome that thing. It's ridiculous. Nobody needs to be out there at Soldier Field when it's wind chill of -11 in January trying to play football. That is not, they call it bear weather in Chicago. It's not bear weather. It's unfit for human activity weather. You go inside when that's the weather. And that's why everyone up there needs to have domes. Was that Cleveland? It was Cleveland where the Saints went a year or two ago, and it was just no degrees.
Yep.
Who was the quarterback that day? Was that a Dalton game, or they won the game?
I think it might have been Dalton. I'm not sure.
But, I don't know who. But there's no need for that. That was when the polar vortex hit. We don't need that. Just build a dome. Thank you, Cleveland Browns. You've done. Let me do some math. Carry the two. Nothing right in your entire existence. This is correct. So well done, City of Cleveland. All right, that's going to do it for our Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Appreciate our guests for jumping on today. Luke Johnson talking Saints, Andrew Hutchinson talking Arkansas. Chris Blair was with us as well. If you missed any of the show, you can always catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, or wherever you find your sound. YouTube channels, Hunt on LSU, Hunt on Saints. Like, subscribe, rate, review those, and get your LSU and Saints information from there. I'll be at LeBair's tonight. Hope to see you. If not, Matt's going to drive you home. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Speaking of LeBair's Baton Rouge, you got to make it your game day headquarters. This season, they got the biggest screens around, and now you can bet and dine and have some beverages at ESPN Bet in person. I will be there tonight. Big screen's going to have Saints and Broncos on it. Baseball playoffs will be on as well. You can wager at the window. You can play a little blackjack, get some awesome food and drink. And I'll be there. It's going to be fantastic. Very much looking forward to getting out to LeBair's Baton Rouge and ESPN Bet tonight. Also, if you're not coming out, you'd rather watch at home, I still invite you to play against me with the Cover 5 SEC content. You got to download the Penn Play app, download the Cover 5 app, and put in the promo code LABRSEC24. That's LABRSEC24. Pick 5 SEC games and compete against me and dozens of other listeners here at 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. If you're not a member, you can get the Penn Play app today. LeBair's Baton Rouge is your live sports headquarters. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966 for help.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never